Hi you guys, welcome back. So we're going to go over something that just came across my radar regarding Tiffany Henyard and Thornton Township. So this letter I'm displaying on the screen is allegedly a letter from the clerk at Thornton Township, Loretta Wells. But you guys, before we get started, if you're new here and you like what you hear, go ahead and leave this video a like. And if you're a returning subscriber, please remember to leave it a like as well. Let's continue. And so it reads this: Dear Judge, I, Loretta Wells, am writing to you to request that I be removed from the Thornton Township Electoral Board. I know, as clerk of the township, it is my obligation to serve on this board, but I believe that outside public members, because of their knowledge and expertise, would best serve on this board. Plus, I am physically and mentally exhausted due to the dysfunction within our township and daily responsibilities as the township clerk. I beg you to please consider removing me as a member of the Township Electoral Board. Thank you, Loretta Wells, Clerk, Thornton Township. So you guys, this is a major red flag to me, okay? So some things that stick out automatically is her saying she's physically and mentally exhausted due to the dysfunction within the township. Okay, that's a huge red flag. Now, I don't know what type of feels you guys get from, the clerk during her interactions with Tiffany Henyard and the meetings, but I honestly feel she's been more biased towards Tiffany Henyard, right? I think we can all agree that she's team Tiffany Henyard. She tries to hide it, but in my opinion, and this is just my humble opinion, you guys, she is team Tiffany all the way. Now, why does she want to be taken off the electoral board, which is one of her job duties, which she says, at the very beginning of the letter? It is her obligation to serve on this board. So why is she saying that outside public members are better qualified and knowledgeable and have more expertise than she does? Hasn't she been doing this job for a while? She's the one that's in there. She's the one involved in the executive sessions, right? When they go into closed session and they talk about internal matters with the township. Why does she not want to be held accountable for this job duty? This is so crazy to me. And now I don't know if it's because she's getting pressure from Tiffany Henyard. Of course, she's probably getting pressure from Tiffany Henyard. Anyone that works around her gets pressure, right? But maybe she's being presented with certain things that she's not willing to compromise her morals for. All right. That's just my opinion. Maybe she's not willing to go to jail. Like Tiffany Henyard will probably be going. She's not willing to put her reputation on the line. And I don't know what type of reputation she even has. From what I can see, looking at her Facebook and all that, she's the type of person who likes to enjoy life. She's very involved in politics. Her husband, Terry Wells, was appointed to the South Suburban College Board of Trustees in 2001, and he was elected chairman of the board on January 20th, 2022, succeeding Frank Zuccarelli. And if you guys don't know, Frank Zuccarelli was the former supervisor who passed away suddenly, and then Tiffany Henyard succeeded him. So around the same time, Terry Wells got that chairman job. Right after Frank died, just like Tiffany Henyard got the supervisor position right after Frank died. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of background as it pertains to the clerk and her political background. We'll just say that because they're married. So obviously they're on the same page of everything. All right. So for those who may not know about the clerk's duties and her job, the clerk is the official custodian of Thornton Township records. They safeguard, they preserve, and manage all documents and information for the public record and public access. They are supposed to ensure transparency. And how do they ensure this transparency? Is by making sure that the meeting minutes are accurate, that they are posted up in a timely manner, and that, every vote is counted right. Which brings us to one of the most recent non-meetings where a resident called the clerk out on one of the things that was voted on that wasn't accurate. Let's watch.
Last but not least, I am concerned about the accuracy of Clerk Wells' reporting. On the township's website, her minutes from October the 30th meeting showed that a motion to approve a tax refund passed through. No quorum was present. How is that possible? Thank you.
So as we heard the residents say, there was not even a quorum, so how could there have been a vote passed, right? And the Lansing Journal, who actually recorded this, put up a quick little note that the clerk did actually go in there and correct that shortly after. So that is correct. You will not find that on the website now if you look at those meeting minutes. But this resident, she's up on her stuff, okay? And she was on it and she called her out on it. And I don't know if it could have been an honest mistake. It could have been an honest mistake, but then at the same time, when I go and I listen to some of the meetings and I read the notes, some of the information the clerk leaves out, and I'm not sure if she does it just because she's summarizing or if she chooses to leave certain things out, like when Tiffany Henyard calls Carmen Carlier.
Unfortunately, the Board of Trustees, Chris and also Carmen Carlier, the Board of Trustees did not show up, and I just told you the two people that did show up, Carmen Carlier and also Gonzalez. People have not showed up, meaning the trustees, Trustee Carlier and Trustee Gonzalez. And I want to tell you how illegal and corrupt the two individuals are. Trustee Carmen Carlier for a forensic audit of Keith Freeman credit cards and also Carmen Carlier credit cards. I am seeking the removal of Trustee Carmen Carlier because she's a liar.
I don't think I've ever seen her put that in the meeting notes, which is a very important thing because Tiffany Henyard is supposed to be a leader and a supervisor of the township, but it's kind of a bias there to where she won't actually put it into writing that these are the words that came out of a supervisor's mouth. Because once you put that into writing, it is there, okay? It's gonna be there for everyone to see and everyone to go back and look at, like, wow, this was a supervisor? What the heck? How did she get this position? You know, even in writing. But you won't find that there because the clerk chose to leave it out for some reason. All right. That's another reason why I feel like she is Team Tiffany, because she's not wanting to put some of these things that come out of Tiffany's mouth onto paper, even though we have videos. Okay, we could just look at the videos, but I thought I'd just mention that as well. So you guys, another reason why I get the feeling the clerk doesn't want to be a part of the electoral board is because of some more information I found out from the Lansing Journal, and shout out to them. They're really doing some good work over there in regards to the situation and information on Thornton Township and Tiffany Henyard. So there's a date set for electors of Thornton Township to choose the replacement trustee. There's a vacancy for a trustee in Thornton Township. Now, if the clerk is serving as an elector on this board, then she now has a responsibility of choosing who that trustee is. My feeling is she doesn't want the backlash from her choice. So, and you guys, I'm just going to flash this article that the Lansing Journal posted about it. It's going to happen January 21st. I really hope that they're going to be there. I'm guessing that they will be, and we'll be able to see what goes down. But what I'm wondering now is how long the clerk is going to hang in there with Tiffany Henyard, and if she's willing to risk her freedom for this child, because Tiffany Henyard to me is nothing but a child who does whatever she wants, has no regard for others, doesn't follow any rules, and everyone else is just a casualty of war, okay? Such as Finia Dukes. You guys don't know about Finia Dukes. She used to be a former assistant of Tiffany Henyard. She came to Tiffany Henyard, let her know that a trustee in Dolton, Trustee Andrew Holmes, had assaulted her. Tiffany, not only did she try to sweep it under the rug allegedly, but then she soon fired Finia Dukes after that. So that has been the latest thing that's resurfacing with quite some force now, because there is an audio on this YouTuber's channel, and if you guys want to check it out, go ahead and check it out. I'm not going to play it here, but there is an audio recording of Andrew Holmes on the night of the alleged assault. It's very disgusting, okay, to listen to. So fair warning, the words he uses, very derogatory, just for the person he tries to present himself to be, and then you listen to the words that come out of his mouth, it's disgusting. It almost makes me want to throw up, okay? And I'm sure for people who have experienced trauma like that, it might be triggering. So I just want to warn you guys, if you guys do choose to go listen to that audio, if you are a victim of that type of thing, certain things in that audio might trigger you. So let's get back to the clerk and why I feel she wants to be taken off that electoral board. I feel like this is a first step in her trying to distance herself away from making decisions that connect her and Tiffany Henyard, just as a lot of other people have done. So first we have Tiffany Henyard's former right-hand man, Keith Freeman, who turned on Tiffany and is now cooperating with the 4 Dolton trustees who opposed Tiffany. Now, Keith did a lot of shady things during the time he served under Tiffany Henyard, and it's not exactly clear if he was the driving force behind those things or if Tiffany instructed him to do them. My guess is that Tiffany expressed what she wanted from Keith and he just followed orders and enforced her rules just like the rest of her cronies do, with no regard to who would become casualties of Henyard's war.
Now, things I've seen, I can confirm that she and he told us to hold the warrant list from the trustees. You know why? She said, because we are at war, and how do we give our opponent resources to help them? War?
Next, we have Trustee Christopher Gonzalez, who was also very outspoken in his opposition to Henyard's rule. And even though Gonzalez was the one who nominated Tiffany Henyard for the supervisor position, he was the first to come to realize the grave mistake he had made. Now he appears to be trying to make up for that rash decision he made on that fateful night by going against Henyard without fear and at every turn.
What was your thinking in nominating her after this long process?
I mean, just as a whole, I just felt that I was hoping we could get somebody that was a little bit younger for the role. I felt it was time that, maybe possibly, and I mean, I wasn't like honed in on that, but a woman. I just thought that would be somebody, that was a little bit younger, a woman. She went straight to Frank's office and, sat in the chair and she just kept basically yelling, what are they going to think now? What are they going to say now? Speaking of the Dolton trustees, because I guess, like I said, there was already a rift and I didn't know that. So I'm thinking I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? And then so I went to Keith on the side and I said, what is she talking about? I said, is the board against her in Dolton? And he said, yeah. And I said, who? He's like, everybody.
Next, we have Trustee Carmen Carlisle, who also turned on Tiffany Henyard and began to ask questions during board meetings and refused to be a rubber stamp to Tiffany's spending.
Okay, so they did request that there be an additional card because the original ordinance did only have the finance director, Robert Hunt, listed. And according to my knowledge, I know the previous administration for 29 years only had one credit card, and they were able to successfully handle township business with that one credit card. And I know that there are a lot of things going on, a lot of spending, a lot of questions that sometimes don't get answered. But one thing I will say is I know the supervisor is bonded, so anything she does is protected under that bond. So I think that it is her responsibility to make sure she knows what's going on with the money. It's her responsibility to have a credit card again.
And whom Tiffany now refers to as Trustee Carmen Carlisle at every chance she gets, because that's how childish bullies behave, right? When they don't get their way, they resort to insults and name calling. Next, we have Trustee Jerry Jones, who is actually former Trustee Jerry Jones because he put in his resignation on October 7th, 2024. Jerry Jones was also an avid supporter of Tiffany Henyard and was very optimistic about her being able to do great things.
Mr. Jones, your thoughts on Ms. Henyard as the new supervisor?
Well, in this day and age, it's a saying that we got to keep having is, if not now, then when? And we got a young lady that has the potential to take this township to some great heights. I was excited about the opportunity when it came around. I mean, I nominated a lot of people, but when it came to her, I mean, I'm not saying it's a third choice or anything like that. She's going to be good for this community.
Okay, haven't we seen this before? Well, just like all the others, Jerry Jones eventually stopped drinking the Kool-Aid and began to question things during the board meetings.
All right, thank you. With that being said, in the event that this ordinance is tabled, who works with the board to make sure that it's put in force the way that it could be equitable for everybody, amicable, everybody has a meeting, everybody is, what is it called, compromise and inclusive. Finance director. That question, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have looked at you while I asked it. Should look at the supervisor. Who would be involved in that?
Robert said he's okay with it, I'm okay.
I just wanted to say that because I know that when there was a question about certain things that was asked of the finance director, it was said that they have to go through each price.
It was not long after he began to question things that he decided to resign from his trustee position. So what is the common theme here? People who have once stood with Tiffany Henyard soon become either a casualty of war, like Fania Dukes, or they become a very outspoken advocate against the alleged corruption they experienced while supporting Tiffany Henyard. So let's talk about the clerk a little bit more, and while I feel like she's distancing herself slowly from the decision making as it pertains to Tiffany Henyard. Since the resignation of Jerry Jones, there was a vacancy to fill his seat as trustee. And naturally, Tiffany wanted to try and put someone in there who would just vote yes to whatever she wants without questions. The same way that Trustee Carmen Carlisle used to do until she woke up and began to ask questions. But since the trustees knew what Tiffany's game was, they decided not to show up to the board meetings and run the clock down so the vote could go to the residents. And then they could have the opportunity to vote the next trustee into office. So one of the ongoing lies that Tiffany has been spreading is that since the trustees have not shown up to the meetings, then the insurance cannot be renewed, and since the township doesn't have insurance, then a lot of the services would be stopped. One of the services was transportation for the seniors or people who need help getting from the doctor's appointments, grocery stores, and things like that.
Infighting among leaders in Thornton Township is now leaving some people without an essential service there.
WGN's Dana Rebick talked with people impacted and has the story for us from South Holland.
It's a vital service when you're unable to drive or, you don't have a car to drive or family to take you. So, this has been a lifeline for us.
Harvey resident Tia Robinson relies on Thornton Township senior transportation service buses to go grocery shopping and get to her doctor's appointments. Those buses no longer running due to a lapse in insurance coverage.
We cannot pick residents up. We cannot access our buildings due to the liability. If someone falls, if a car crash happens, car accident, we cannot accept that risk.
Some seniors, they go to dialysis and others go to radiation and chemo, so it's a vital service.
Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard blames the situation on two trustees, Carmen Carlisle and Chris Gonzalez, who have been at odds with Henyard and have not shown up to more than half a dozen recent board meetings.
Regardless of how you feel personally, you should come, you should vote. This is about the people. This isn't about a person. This is about the services that people depend on.
Trustee Carmen Carlisle today saying, quote, "This situation is not about trustees failing to attend meetings. It is about the supervisor's failure to lead with transparency, accountability, and sound management of township resources. The residents of Thornton Township deserve better than excuses and blame shifting." Carlisle saying Henyard had an option to auto-renew the insurance coverage, but chose not to act. While insurance for township buildings and vehicles lapsed December 1st, the buses were spotted taking seniors to Supervisor Henyard's December bingo night.
There was one bingo night in December, and it looked like those buses were being used to bring seniors to the bingo night. Do you know anything about that?
Obviously, the video shows the buses. What I do not know is if they had got like some one-day insurance or anything like that. I don't know. I wouldn't handle that.
According to internal emails obtained by WGN between Trustee Gonzalez and the township's finance director, insurance on all township vehicles did lapse on December 1st. The next scheduled board meeting is January 14th, but Gonzalez tells us he thinks a special emergency meeting will be called before then to get insurance approved.
Tiffany claims that the trustees needed to be present at the meeting in order to vote on the insurance, but you guys know me. I've been through basically all the older meetings, and I have yet to find a meeting where they voted on township insurance. If you don't believe me, take the time like I did and go through them yourself and prove me wrong. But I'm sure most people who are in support of Tiffany Henyard will not take the time to do the research, because if they did, they would be able to see that the majority of the things that spew from her mouth are just lies that can easily be refuted by a little bit of research. And so, speaking of lies being easily refuted, the Lansing Journal has been doing some digging and really putting the pressure on by fact-checking a lot of things Tiffany Henyard says during the board meetings. One major thing that they fact-checked was Tiffany Henyard's blatant lies about the township being in a deficit.
And I'm just so happy to let people know the things that I'm doing in the township, which we have a surplus of it. That's something that the news don't talk about, and that's why they fake, because they tell one-sided narratives. So I want people to know that when I became your supervisor, y'all had a deficit. We turned the township, and my team, my administration, turned the township into a surplus.
So Tiffany is always saying, you know, oh, the township was in a deficit before I got here, and now that I'm here, things are so much greater, you know, the rainbows and butterflies and all this other madness. Okay, it's madness, you guys. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at this article from the Lansing Journal highlighting the financial shape of Thornton Township before Tiffany became supervisor. So this is what they said. All major funds in surplus as Henyard took over from Zuccarelli. So it says, for the past several months, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard has repeated the claim that her administration faced a budget deficit when she took over from the late Supervisor Frank Zuccarelli, who died while in office on January 3rd, 2022. Henyard was appointed supervisor March 3rd, 2022, and they say appointed supervisor because she was not voted into that position. And so, yes, there are a lot of people who are new to this whole drama situation regarding Tiffany Henyard and Dolton and Thornton Township. So just to get it clear, the people did not vote her into this supervisor position. She was appointed at the last minute because that vacancy needed to be filled, and the Board of Trustees, for some reason, didn't want to give it to the residents to decide, which I'm sure they are greatly regretting to this day. Except for Darlene Gray Everett, who is still under Tiffany's thumb. Okay, we won't even talk about her right now. All right, let's get back to this article. So 2 days after the start of the township's new fiscal year, which runs March 1st to February 28th, she has variously referenced deficits from the time in the overall budget, the general fund, and the general assistant fund, claiming different amounts ranging from $1.5 million to as much as $4 million. An examination of Thornton Township financial audit reports from that time shows this claim to be false. According to its financial report from the fiscal year March 1st, 2021 to February 28th, 2022, the township ended the year with an overall surplus as well as surpluses in 3 major funds: the general fund, the general assistance fund, and the road and bridge fund. So as we can see from these numbers of the Lansing Journal, the total net position from fiscal year 2021 to 2022 was $43,149,389. The general fund was $2,212,473. General assistance fund $9,439,659, and then the road and bridge fund $1,488,562. And the Lansing Journal notes that the report was audited and certified by John Kasparek Company, a certified public accounting firm in Calumet City, which has reviewed the town's financial statements since at least the 1990s, according to a source. They also say that financial reports filed by the township indicate its budget has remained in a surplus overall and in each of these 3 funds during Henyard's tenure, and Henyard often touts large budget surpluses under her administration. Now this is where it gets interesting. They say that, however, a financial report for the fiscal year ending in February 28th, 2024 was not endorsed by Kasperick Co. So like I said in one of my previous videos, the accounting firm that has been with the township forever would not endorse the numbers that reading Robert here. Okay, you guys, this is another one of Henyard's right-hand men and who have been with her since day one. They were trustees together going way back in Dolton, and he's a CPA, and he made a budget which, listening to this resident right here, didn't make any sense and the numbers didn't add up.
So with 20 years of banking experience and a degree in finance, I was looking at the budget that's been presented, and I appreciate you, Trustee Carmen Carlisle and Gonzalez, for having somebody else take a look at this. In some cases, the numbers just don't compute, like they don't accurately add up, so I think some of those are just probably typos. In other cases, Supervisor Henyard, you ran off numbers that you said was our current surplus. They don't match the numbers that are in the budget. We ultimately have a budget that's not balanced.
So yeah, she said that the numbers weren't adding up and people should really look into it. And obviously the accountant firm felt the exact same, because they were not willing to endorse this budget that Tiffany Henyard has been trying to push on the trustees, Carmen Carlisle and Christopher Gonzalez, who refused to sign off on this budget, which in hindsight, if the audit firm is not going to endorse it, neither should they, right? Because the auditing firm is the expert in this matter. So Tiffany, once again, is just flying off, doing whatever she wants, throwing out numbers, not presenting receipts, and she thinks she's just going to keep getting away with it. The fact that this firm is not willing to endorse this and put their name on the line says a lot. And it's just going to be added to the list of things that Tiffany should be worried about. She's not worried about it because, like I said before, she's a narcissist, sociopath more than likely. I am not a professional. I will say that as well. But all the signs point to yes. But I also wanted to show this chart as well, and it's also just laying out the numbers for the years before Tiffany got there, and then the numbers afterwards, and then this column here that's kind of like in a light green column shows the financial report that was not endorsed by the audit firm. So, you know, what does she say? A man lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Well, you know, Lansing Journal, they're real journalists, okay? They're not journalisms like Tiffany Henyard would like us to believe is the correct word.
You should definitely fact check, because y'all supposed to be journalisms,
But they're really digging in there and they're finding the facts and they're presenting these numbers for us, which I really love. You guys, go ahead and check their YouTube channel out. They not only record the board meetings, but it's great quality, great audio, and they also make notations and put it out there simply for everyone so you can follow along through the board meetings and know what's really going on. So I do want to give a shout out to them over there. They do a lot of hard work, boots on the ground. They are actually living it. They're in there, so they know, and they can definitely find a lot more information out than us outsiders. So definitely go check their YouTube channel out. I'm loving this new fact check thing that they're doing, and they're just like calling her out on her BS. Basically, that's what it is. But you guys, that's going to be it for today. But let me know what you guys think about the clerk and how she's not willing to be a part of the electoral board. What do you guys feel like that has to do with? Do you feel like Tiffany is behind it? Let me know down in the comments, and just basically on anything you heard throughout the video. Let me know down in the comments, you guys. Please remember to leave this video a like. And if you're new here, subscribe.